So did you know that if you hold down the weapon button for the axe or blades when you go to take them out, Kratos will actually do the first move in the light attack sequence? On controller, that would be holding down left or right on the D-pad, and on keyboard that's 1 or 2 by default. It might not seem like a big deal, but if you get in the habit of doing it, taking out your weapons this way actually helps eliminate that awkward pause you get when switching weapons. So it's a nice way to make combat feel more fluid. By the way, another way to do that is to think about switching weapons while you're in the middle of a dodge. If you hit the input for the axe or blades while dodging, whether it's a single tap dodge or a double tap roll, by the time the dodge animation is done, Kratos will pretty much have the weapon out and ready to go. So again, you can avoid the awkward weapon switch pause. There are a bunch more little tricks like this that make combat smoother. For example, you might have already discovered that the Serpent Snare skill is really strong. It lets you grab an enemy and chuck them to deal a nice chunk of damage and apply frost buildup to any enemies they land near. Plus, you're totally invincible while doing this, except not at the beginning. While Kratos is charging up the attack, you can definitely be hit, and it's even worse because you're stuck locked into this animation. But you can actually cut that vulnerable window down by starting the Serpent Snare in the middle of doing regular heavy attacks. So if you're just tapping R2 on controller or right-click on mouse to do some regular heavy attacks, you can hold down the button at any point to start up the Serpent Snare. And Kratos will get through that initial charge up phase faster. The quickest way is simply tapping heavy attack once to do the initial uppercut move and then holding heavy attack immediately after that. Kratos will do the downward swing and then immediately go into Serpent Snare. Priming Serpent Snare like this also has the side benefit of popping small enemies into the air first, since regular heavy attacks will do that for you. So it's even a bit safer because the enemy you're focusing on is totally helpless. Oh, and don't forget, if you're close to a ledge, you can chuck enemies right off. I've got some more combo shortcuts like that to show you, but first, let's talk about dealing damage faster with attack animation canceling. Instead of just mashing the light attack button to do the basic combo, you can actually cut the attack animation short so you can start up another hit much faster. One way to do this is with dodges, which we'd call dodge canceling, but that doesn't really speed things up much because the dodge animation takes a bit of time and it typically positions you further from the enemy. So the better way to cancel is with the shield. See, when you pull the shield out, Kratos will immediately stop doing whatever animation he's currently in the middle of. So we can use that to attack cancel with any shield, except for the Dauntless. Of course, pulling out the Dauntless does still interrupt Kratos' attack animations, so you can parry or block no problem. But for doing this attack canceling trick, the issue with the Dauntless is that it doesn't let you get back to attacking again really quickly like all the other shields do. So if you want to attack cancel, you really need to use a shield other than the Dauntless. The Shatterstar is especially good for attack canceling because its animation is really fast and it also charges up a bit each time, so you can use its special shield punch ability pretty often. But let me show you exactly how to do this shield canceling. You start by simply hitting the light attack button to swing the axe or blades like normal. But then, right after the attack connects with the enemy and deals damage, which is about halfway through, you tap the shield button to cut off the rest of the weapon swinging animation. Then you immediately hit light attack again, cancel it with the shield button again, and just keep repeating. The tricky part here is getting the right tempo down, so it does take a little bit of practice, but if you take a few minutes to try it out, I'm sure you'll start to get the hang of it. And canceling does also work with heavy attacks, not just light attacks, so you can do it that way too, though it's not quite as effective since heavy attack animations are slower. Now, I want to show you another attack canceling trick, but it's a bit of a spoiler if you haven't done the Forging Destiny main quest yet, which is the 6th one. So if you don't want to see it, go ahead and skip to the next chapter. But if you have done it, then you'll know you can throw Draupnir spears by aiming and tapping light attack. Problem is, the rate at which you can throw them is a little slow, but we can actually use the shield canceling to speed this up too. So the key to this is to keep holding down the aim button the entire time. Go ahead and throw a spear like normal, and then tap the shield button to cancel the regenerating spear animation. Then you can immediately hit light attack to throw again. Remember to hold that aim button down the whole time. Again, this is a little tricky to get the hang of, but once you get the timing down, you can throw spears much faster than normal. Shout out to my editor Ali for showing me that trick. But another way to speed things up is frosting the axe with Frost Awaken more quickly. Instead of pulling out the axe normally and then holding triangle to frost it, or R on keyboard, you can just start holding the button while the axe is still on Kratos' back. The Frost Awaken charge will start up while the axe is flying to his hand, so it'll be ready to go much faster. You'll need Frost Awaken 3 unlocked to be able to do this, but once you have it, I definitely recommend getting used to frosting the axe this way. Basically, you want to get used to always putting the axe away before you hold to frost it. There's also a good trick to frost the axe faster once you have Frost Awaken 4 unlocked. This one lets you charge the axe instantly if you hit triangle or R a moment after doing an attack. But the thing is, double tapping the shield button for a shield bash will actually also count as an attack. So you can do a shield bash and then wait a moment until the shield starts to collapse back down to disappear, and then tap triangle or R to instantly frost the axe. And once you have Flame Whiplash 2 unlocked, this works on the blades as well. And that's actually where I use this trick a lot more, because it lets you charge up Flame Whiplash really fast. Using Flame Whiplash to do repeated Scorched Earth attacks is a really strong tactic for building up the burn state quickly, and dealing some decent damage in the process. Scorched Earth is arguably the best way to build up the burn state fast, and you want to burn enemies often for a few reasons. First, it deals some damage over time, so in addition to the damage you deal with attacks while building up the burn state, it'll continue to chip away at an enemy's health afterwards while you focus on dealing damage with another attack. And you definitely do want to switch to another attack once you have an enemy burning, specifically a melee attack with the axe, because you can get a bunch of bonus damage from the Extinguish Flames skill, which boosts your damage when attacking burning enemies with the axe. The equivalent skill on the blades is called Vaporize Frost, which provides bonus damage when attacking a frozen enemy with the blades. But again, the burn state deals damage over time, so I find it's a little more optimal to get enemies burning and then deal damage with the axe. So charge up Flame Whiplashes really fast using the Shield Bash trick to do a few Scorched Earth attacks to get an enemy burning, and then switch to the axe to deal damage using attack animation cancels, and you'll melt enemy health bars really fast. But let's take a step back for a second, because I want to make sure you know a few simple tricks a lot of players miss out on. Light Elves can be super annoying, but if you hit some of them in the mask on their face, they'll be instantly stunned, allowing you to run up and do a stun grab for big damage or even an instant kill. The elves and some other enemies will also often go into a defensive stance and block your attacks. To deal with that quickly, just double tap the shield button to do a shield bash and break their block. With small enemies, just like in God of War 2018, you can trip them by throwing the axe at their legs, which opens them up for easy damage. A lot of players also don't realize that when you're using Flame Whiplash, if you get right up in an enemy's face, the spinning blade will whack them and interrupt their attacks. It doesn't keep them staggered infinitely, but it's a nice little trick to keep in your back pocket. Don't forget you can actually parry projectiles as well, like the poison blasts from Grims and light orbs from elves. A lot of players don't realize that you actually need to hold down the button to force a Runic attack to last its full duration. It's not true for every Runic, but there are definitely a few like Wrath of the Frost Ancient that require holding down to get their full effectiveness. They're way weaker if you don't hold down the attack button. A lot of players also don't use Rage optimally. Remember, you can cancel Rage to conserve it, so instead of letting it all burn down every time you use it, you want to think about using it more strategically. For example, if you're about to take a hit because you messed up a dodge or something, hitting Rage will keep you safe and let you heal a bit from a few hits. But then, canceling it lets you save some Rage in case that happens again. This is why I prefer using Valor Rage instead of the default Fury. The Rage bar is broken up into smaller chunks when using Valor, and you'll only consume one of them when triggering it, so it helps you conserve Rage a little more easily. You don't have to worry about canceling like you do with Fury. Wrath works this way too, of course, but I prefer the instant healing bonus you get with Valor. Now, there's also actually a hidden combo for the Hyperion Pull skill that you can use right from the start of the game. Normally, you'd use Hyperion Pull to aim with the blades, and then tap Light Attack to yank an enemy towards you. And the skill description actually also shows that if you use it on an airborne enemy, they get slammed into the ground. But if you use it on an airborne enemy and keep holding the light attack button, Kratos will throw the other blade and then slam the enemy down for even more damage. And you can do this repeatedly to bounce enemies off the ground over and over again if you really want to terrorize them. But there's a couple more hidden combos that actually let you get to the more powerful finisher moves of the light and heavy attack movesets much faster than normal. With the blades, if you do 2 heavy attacks first and then switch to light attacks, you'll skip a few moves in the standard light attack moveset and get to the final powerful move pretty quick. It works the other way around too, so 2 light attacks and then switching to heavies will shortcut you to the end of the heavy moveset. But 2 heavies followed by 2 lights does more damage total, so if you want to use these shortcut combos, I'd lean towards using that one. These shortcuts do work on the axe as well, but they're more effective on the blades. Now, this one isn't really a combat tip, but I wanted to make sure you didn't miss the secret everlasting boss fight. Once you have the mystical heirloom relic, you can awaken certain statues throughout the game, like trolls. But you might have also come across this dragon statue early on in Svartalfheim. Well, you guessed it, you can wake that guy up too. And if you want the dragon scaled armor, which is one of my favorites, you'll need to defeat this dragon along with a number of others. To get the mystical heirloom, you'll first need a special item you get later in the game. Don't worry, it's part of that main quest I mentioned earlier, and you'll know it when you get it. Once you do, you'll need to use it on this glowing crack, which is in Midgard, south of Tyr's temple, on the Lake of the Nine, and right near the Lost Treasury. Defeating the Everlasting will also give you a new enchantment for your amulet, and there's actually a really cool secret buff you can unlock with the amulet. If you equip one enchantment of each of the 9 realms, you'll be able to trigger the 9 realm buff. To trigger it, you need to land 9 attacks in a row without getting hit. The buff lasts 9 seconds, and it significantly boosts damage while using the charged elemental gauge abilities. So that'd be Glacial Permafrost on the axe or Furious Immolation on the blades. These are the ones you trigger by hitting L1 and X on controller or Q and spacebar on PC once the elemental gauge is fully charged. The 9 realms is a pretty strong buff, and you can make it even easier to leverage by equipping one of the 9 realms attachments to the weapon you like triggering the elemental gauge on. So for example, when I have the elemental gauge charged up, I like using Furious Immolation on the blades, so I can equip the pommels of the 9 realms, and then I'll get a slow motion realm shift after triggering Furious Immolation, which lets me deal easy damage while I have the 9 realms buff. We've mentioned a few times how I like building up burn on enemies, but if you feel like burn isn't that effective, it might be because your Runic stat is too low. I think a lot of players go through the game without realizing that Runic actually influences how fast you can build up elemental states, and in the case of fire, it also boosts how much damage over time the burning state does. So if you really want to leverage the elements, you'll need to equip some gear to get your Runic stat up. Poison is another element that I think is underutilized. See, building up the poison state actually drops an enemy's power level down by 1, which is a big deal. An enemy's power level relative to your own makes a big difference in how much damage you can deal to them, so being able to drop them down a power level with poison is huge. The elements are really strong in Ragnarok, so if you aren't already using them, definitely consider getting your Runic stat up and playing around with them. We dive much deeper on all the elements and how to leverage them in this video right here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there in just a second.